Winter's back. Well, not really. It's just definitely cooler out there today. I'm tracking colder than normal temperatures and showers in your forewarned forecast.
More police on the streets in St. Louis as a new effort to reduce violent crime gets underway. Plus, new information about a shooting in St. Louis County. Police now say 4 people were shot in KINLOCH. What we know about that investigation. And firefighters believe they know what sparked an explosion and house fire in St. Charles County. News 4 at noon starts right now.
Live from KMOV, this is News 4 at noon.
Good afternoon and a very happy Tuesday to all of you. I'm Laura Hettiger in for Alyssa. Thanks so much for joining us. Right now, more police are on the streets in parts of North St. Louis. It's an effort to curb escalating violence and shootings. Just 2 hours ago, St. Louis police began a new hotspot policing initiative in the city's 4th Ward. Residents can expect to see more officers in uniform patrolling in marked vehicles, as well as plainclothes officers in unmarked cars.
I've noticed that some of our crime numbers are starting to creep lower in the last 4 or 5 weeks, so that's good. I can just tell you from one of the first hotspots we did this year, Old North St. Louis, some of the arrests that we made were some pretty significant criminals, all right? They haven't gotten back out on the street.
Police say this hotspot effort will focus on both violent crimes and property crimes. Another new effort in the city is also underway to better prosecute criminals. Police and prosecutors are teaming up in a different way. This all started about a month ago on April 20th when prosecutors started responding to homicides like the one you are seeing here, along with police detectives. According to Circuit Attorney Jennifer Joyce, it's all part of creating a closer partnership with police.
I think the police have been frustrated at the amount of cases that they've been able to carry through to a successful prosecution. And we realized after talking with others around the country that we could really impact that if we were right there with the detectives in the middle of the night at the crime scene when a homicide occurs.
When police are called to those homicides, they start looking for evidence to solve a crime. These prosecutors are looking for evidence that will stand up in court. Also, the lawyers are able to interview witnesses right there at the scene. Moreover, it speeds up the process in getting a search warrant. New at noon, protesters are marching outside the Circuit Attorney's office in downtown St. Louis. They are upset no charges were filed against the police officer who shot and killed Vonderett Myers last October. Prosecutors say no charges were filed because the evidence showed Myers raised a gun and fired at officers before he was shot. We have new information on a quadruple shooting in KINLOCH. St. Louis County Police now say 4 people were shot last night in the 8,000 block of School Way. Police say 2 of the victims were taken to the hospital in critical condition. Investigators say it appears a large group was standing in the street when someone drove by and started shooting. The search is still on for those suspects. 3 men are in custody after allegedly robbing a Glen Carbon Walgreens and then leading police on a chase. That chase ended when the suspects crashed their car on the McKinley Bridge late last night. No one was injured in that crash, but police say all 3 suspects were taken into custody a short time later. Charges could be filed in the case relatively soon. And we have more information on a story we first brought to you as breaking news on News 4 this morning. We know the cause of an explosion and house fire in St. Charles County. An explosion woke the family up there around 3 o'clock this morning. Everyone inside was able to get out safely. Investigators believe coals from a barbecue pit lit the deck and a propane tank on fire. The Missouri State Fire Marshal is on the scene of a deadly apartment fire near Kansas City. The blaze broke out overnight in Liberty, Missouri. 1 person we know was killed. Fire crews have been on the scene for hours. The intensity of the blaze caused the roof to collapse. And a St. Louis mother is accused of locking her 3 young children in the trunk of a car. 31-year-old Annie Matkins is behind bars right now after police say she locked her 3 kids in the trunk and then drove off. It happened Saturday night on Farland Avenue, that is in North St. Louis. A neighbor called police, then followed the car to make sure police showed up to help. Matkins is only facing misdemeanor charges.
No child deserves that at all. No adult would want that. Would she like to be put in the trunk, you know? And so, of course, a misdemeanor is not enough.
News 4 is working to find out why this case is not considered a felony. As for the children, court records did not mention any injuries. The case for the man charged with killing SIU Edwardsville student Taylor Clark is going to a grand jury. Michael Gordon is charged with shooting and killing the 19-year-old earlier this month. Yesterday, a judge informed Gordon the case was going to a grand jury. A June 29th date is set for Gordon's preliminary hearing, but a return indictment from the grand jury would make that hearing unnecessary. And it's one of the last places you'd want to see a break-in, but luckily we learned that no guns were stolen after crooks broke into BULLSEYE gun range on Manchester in South St. Louis. That incident happened around 1:30 this morning. Police tell us the burglars were able to get in, but again, nothing was taken. And we are working to see if charges will be filed today against a man who reportedly opened fire on drivers in Baldwin. Police say the man drove down Manchester Road yesterday shooting a gun, hitting at least 2 cars. Luckily, no one was hit by the bullets. Police later caught that driver after he crashed his truck. The motive for the shooting is still unclear. Switching gears, though, now to weather with Megan Danahay. Megan, you said winter is back? I hope you're saying no.
I've got to quote our maintenance professional, Drew, when I was out walking the dogs this morning. That's what he said to me. He said, winter's back.
All right. Thank you, Megan. Now, there are new questions about Hillary Clinton and her use of private emails to handle government business. Her Republican opponents now accuse her of using a second private email account while she was Secretary of State. Marley Hall has the latest. Still ahead on News 4 at noon, airline workers charged with drug crimes. Why this case is raising new questions about airport security. Plus, what the FBI is saying about the deadly AMTRAK crash in Philadelphia. Those stories and more when News 4 at noon continues.
You're watching News 4, watching out for you.
We're following a story out of California that raises new concerns about airport security. 3 baggage handlers from Southwest Airlines are being charged with smuggling drugs. These employees worked at Oakland International Airport. Investigators there say the 3 used security badges to enter the airport terminal with the bags. That's where they would hand off the drugs to a ticketed passenger who already passed through security. Drugs were smuggled to cities all over the country, including Nashville, Phoenix, and New Orleans. The FBI says there is no evidence a bullet hit the windshield of the AMTRAK train that crashed last week in Philadelphia. Investigators have not ruled out the possibility that another object may have struck the train's windshield before crashing. You probably remember 8 people died and more than 200 others were injured. Investigators say the focus of their investigation remains on the speed of the train. It was going more than 100 miles an hour at the time of the crash. The speed limit on that section of the track is 50 miles an hour. Meanwhile, the first lawsuits have been filed over last week's derailment. Attorneys filed a civil suit yesterday on behalf of 6 victims, including one of the train's conductors. The suit says the engineer failed in his responsibility to operate the train safely. It also blames AMTRAK for not installing an automatic speed control system. And it's not something you'd want to see in your neighborhood. Water rushing right down the street. We'll have more on the flash flooding and where it's happening just ahead on News 4 at noon. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the fun fact. We are honoring David Letterman with our fun fact on the days leading up to his final show. Which celebrity has made the most appearances on The Late Show with David Letterman? That answer coming up a little later, only on News 4 at noon.
You're watching News 4, watching out for you.
In Washington, D.C. today, lawmakers are talking about how police do their jobs. House committee is holding a hearing on policing strategies. It comes just a day after President Obama issued an executive order, one that prohibits shipments of certain military equipment to state and local police departments. The discussion comes 9 months after police and protesters clashed in Ferguson. Some of those officers had riot gear and armored vehicles.
We've seen how militarized gear can sometimes give people a feeling like there's an occupying force as opposed to a force that's part of the community that's protecting them and serving them.
Law enforcement agencies requesting gear will now have to announce their request publicly. They'll also have to explain how they'll train officers to use that equipment. Some New Yorkers are dealing with major flash flooding today in Binghamton. Floodwaters were rushing right down the street. The National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning last night. It remains in effect today. Severe storms brought heavy rain to the area, causing the damage. There are no reports, luckily, though, of any serious injuries. And here closer to home, Missouri Governor Jay Nixon has spent time on the road this week. The governor says the decision to evacuate one small town likely saved lives. The small town of Mosby. It's just northeast of Kansas City. People there saw heavy rainfall over the weekend, and one particular creek rose 4 feet in just 1 hour. Officials say of the 74 homes in Mosby, 35 were damaged by floodwater. Now here's a live look outside from our Brown Realtors Eye on St. Louis camera right down Market Street. It is sunny, but brr, it's a little chilly, Megan.
It is a little chilly after highs in the mid-80s yesterday. Today feels like a bit of a shock to the system. I'm tracking cooler than normal May temperatures and showers in your forewarned forecast next. But Sunday and Monday, the chance of thunderstorms there, and we'll be watching those days for the potential for severe weather.
You guys are always busy.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Megan. Now we will be right back with the answer to the fun fact. Here it is. Which celebrity has made the most appearances on The Late Show with David Letterman? The answer is next, only on News 4 at noon. Well, it has finally happened. The President of the United States now has his own Twitter account. President Obama unveiled his @POTUS account yesterday. His first tweet, here it is. Hello, Twitter. It's Barack, 6 years in. They're finally giving me my own account. Now, I just checked in the last 30 seconds. The president now has 1.9 million followers. Now, the POTUS handle will transfer to the next president in 2017. All right, time now to answer the fun fact.
All right, we're sticking with David Letterman. It's a pretty monumental week this week. Which celebrity has made the most appearances on The Late Show with David Letterman?
The answer? Regis Philbin. He holds the title for the most Late Show appearances with a total of 136. He is followed by animal expert Jack Hanna,
One of my favorites.
who's been on the show 75 times. You an animal lover? Come on, I wouldn't have thought that. And actor Tony Randall, who appeared 70 times. Now, David Letterman's final 2 shows air tonight and tomorrow, right after News 4 at 10 o'clock.
I can't believe it.
I know.
I mean,
It's the end of an era.
Him, he's really funny.
He is.
Really broke the mold when it came to late night TV.
Hey, thanks for joining us for News 4 at noon. Grab a jacket, though. It's kind of chilly out there, right?
Yeah, a little cool. At least we've got a whole bunch of sunshine. Tomorrow we had rain.
Ooh,
Temperatures. Yeah.
we'll keep the sun.
Exactly.
Have a great afternoon.